Bo Digital is the secret ingredient you need for success in marketing your small business. From logos and flyers to social media and videos, Bo Digital can create the marketing you need to set yourself apart. Oh, and they build websites too. Not only do they help my small business, but did you know that they help many others around Kokomo too, including Solidarity Community Credit Union, the Lindy Owsley and Chanel Cahill Real Estate Team, Hope Behavioral Services, and even the Kokomo Symphony. Let Bo build a custom plan for you today. Learn more at bowdigital.com. That's BOWE digital.com. I'm Kayla Keith, and this is Missing Midwest, a true crime podcast about those that have gone missing. Today's story is about two separate cases, two little boys, 2 years apart.
A double whammy.
Double, yeah.
Goodness.
So there's not a whole lot of information on them. So they're two short cases. I'm going to do them both, but they're also like connected.
Ooh.
And connected to a previous case we did.
Yikes.
And so I'm doing them together. But.
Okay.
Anything before we get started? What's up, Brazil?
Yeah, dude.
Brazil, Indiana.
Shout out to Brazil.
Oh, last week's case.
Crushing the numbers.
Last week's case was Billy Martin from Brazil, Indiana. And like, it kind of took off, and like a whole bunch of people from Brazil, like we got a couple of messages. I was informed that they have $4 generals. Sorry, I messed that up. In my defense, it says there's only 2, but apparently they have 4, which is good for you. I'm happy for you.
Now I'm like, we have to reevaluate our way of finding out dollar generals.
I know.
I thought we had a foolproof plan.
And so I'm really happy that you have 4. Also, his brother messaged us. Billy Martin's brother, Robert Martin. He messaged us. He said, thanks for doing the case. Thanks for caring. So I'm talking to him. If he gives us any information or any updates, I'll update you guys for sure. If you like our podcast, because I see that you guys are listening to it now, we currently have 76 free episodes. So thank you for listening. But we also have subscriber content. It's $5 a month. And we do an extra episode a week. And that is Murdered Midwest. So it's a murdered episode, usually from the Midwest. Sometimes as you listen to us, we kind of get outside the Midwest if we find an interesting case or something, but we have over 60 of those. So if you want to subscribe, you can listen to those. The link is in the show notes.
Yeah. And speaking of Murder Midwest, yesterday's episode was about Charles Manson. And Some of you may have seen the Chaos documentary that came out. I learned a ton about that crazy dude in that. So I had to do an episode. And when I did the episode and I did my own research on it, wow.
Yeah, Johnny was like, do you know the story of Charles Manson? And I was like, I mean, who doesn't know the story of Charles Manson? But like detail-wise, I don't think I know it all. And so he did it yesterday. So
many Midwest connections. Like all of you that live in the Midwest, there's Charles Manson has connections.
He was just chilling out in Indiana, guys.
Especially Indiana. Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to subscribe, you can listen to Charles Manson and a whole bunch of other cases. And also, next week's murdered episode is going to be tied into today's cases and a few of the ones that we've done in the past. So, you ready?
I'm ready. Long sleeve tees, always going to throw that out there. Our merch, the link to our merch store is also going to be in the show notes. But I'm wearing a long sleeve tee right now and just living my best life today in Indiana.
Yeah, it's
on March. But we have hoodies on there for 2 days from now when it's cold again. Whenever Indiana. We're in full spring right now.
Fake spring in Indiana.
Yeah.
Don't get used to it. It's going to snow soon.
Exactly.
So I've been doing these like missing boys, little boys from the Midwest, you know? Mm-hmm. And so we covered Johnny Gosch. Okay. So little refresher. Johnny Gosch was known as the milk carton kid. I think it's been about a year since I did his case. He is the one that his mom is questionable on her sanity. Some people say she's insane. Some people say she's onto something. She claims that he came and visited her after his abduction and he was kidnapped into a child sex ring. The hole is deep, y'all. The rabbit hole on that one. Wow. And so there's some other missing boys. So in Murdered Midwest, we covered Ricky Chaddock. A couple weeks ago, he was murdered in Omaha, Nebraska. And there is another person on the internet that I'm pretty sure is probably schizophrenic, based off just his online ramblings, but he believes that his dad was involved in that murder. He believes his dad was involved in the Johnny Gosch kidnapping. He believes his dad was involved in the Jacob Wetterling murder. And he's got some stuff. I mean, schizophrenic or not, there's some stuff there that you're kind of like, wow.
There's some undeniable links.
Yeah,
I mean, and not undeniable in fact, like, oh, these are definitely, but like you see where his brain's going.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And so today we are going back to Des Moines. Did I say it?
Yeah, you nailed it. I'm proud of you.
Okay.
I think she asked me like 4 times, and then I would tell her Des Moines, and then which last year I taught 5th grade social studies. Therefore, all the states and capitals of the United States of America. This came up.
And you did it right?
It's Des Moines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to Des Moines. Like I said, that's where we were for Johnny Gosch. That's where he went missing from. And so he went missing on September 5th, 1982 while delivering newspapers, never seen again. I already went over this. Crazy story, okay? But after Johnny Gosch, there was Eugene Martin and Marc Warren. So on the morning of August 12th, 1984, so this is 2 years after Johnny Gosch went missing. He went missing 1982. We are now in 1984. 13-year-old Eugene Martin left his house on the south side of Des Moines, okay? He lived in a neighborhood over there. It's 5 a.m., and he left to deliver the Sunday edition of the Des Moines Register newspaper. Sound familiar?
Yeah,
that is the paper that Johnny Gosch delivered for as well. And so he arrived at his pickup spot. There was a corner that he was supposed to be at to pick up his newspapers at 5:15 a.m. He collected his newspapers from the delivery van driver, and he sat down on the sidewalk and he started to fold them to put into his bag, okay? According to several witnesses, they reported seeing Eugene talking to a man in what looked to be described as like a friendly conversation. He didn't look scared. He was just like talking to this guy, okay? And if you remember, many people saw Johnny Gosch talking to somebody.
Yep.
There was a man in a blue car asking for directions. He had asked like 3 or 4 people that morning for directions, actually. And Johnny was seen actually walking up to the car to what people assume is give him directions. And so this man's talking to this guy. 45 minutes later, a woman called Eugene's route manager to say that she hadn't received her morning paper yet.
Man, people aren't wasting any time.
No, that's why I'm like, leave it to this lady to know that something's
I want to drink my coffee and read this paper.
45 minutes.
Where is he?
I'm mad, yeah. And so the route manager assumed that Eugene had overslept, and so he went to the corner where you pick up your papers, and he found Eugene's delivery bag with 10 papers rolled inside of it sitting on the sidewalk.
Not good.
But no Eugene. Now, to me, my alarm bells go off right then. Like, somebody obviously picked up the papers, assuming it's Eugene. Somebody obviously rolled the papers, assuming it's Eugene. But this guy just went ahead and delivered the papers. And so he knew that this lady, she's got her coffee.
Was he like assuming the kid did all that work and just was like, I'm done?
And so he delivered the papers himself. Oof. And then on his way home, he stopped at the Martin house and he talked with Eugene's father, Don. And when Don realized that Eugene was not at home and hadn't returned home, he started searching the neighborhood, but he found no sign of his son. Around 8:40 a.m., the Des Moines Police Department got a phone call, and they responded immediately. They sent out APBs, which is an all-point bulletin. They set up roadblocks. They started canvassing neighborhoods literally within an hour, and they had the FBI on the ground that afternoon in Des Moines because they were like, well, we're not messing around here. Like, we know what happened with Johnny Gosch.
Right.
We never found him. Like, we're taking this very seriously. Officer James Rowley, which I believe his name was in the Johnny Gosch case, he is retired now. He was one of the first officers on scene, and he said, quote, a lot of shoe leather went into this, meaning like a lot of boots on the ground here. He said his then lieutenant did not want another West Des Moines deal because Johnny Gosch went missing from West Des Moines, and this was South Des Moines. And he also said, quote, he did not want another botched investigation.
Woof.
Because they definitely think that in Johnny Gosch, like, the police kind of screwed up the investigation on that. So during the height of this investigation, that detective traveled as far as Canada and Mexico following tips on what might have happened to Eugene. He says, according to his estimation, he followed up on somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 leads, and not one of them was credible. He said, quote, there has never been a solid lead, a bone, or a fragment found. And he told A&E True Crime, quote, "We didn't turn up any evidence." And his brother said, "We still miss him. We're still looking. He was a really great guy." That's what his brother said about him, literally. This case is still open, still ongoing. Last year, there was a statement made to a TV station, and the detective said, quote, "Cases such as this don't grow cold due to lack of interest from investigators or the community, but rather they stall as leads are exhausted and new leads come more infrequently." They said this case remains of significant interest for the Des Moines Police Department. And so him, his family, the Des Moines Police Department, they're all still like, it's still very open and active. Like but they have nothing. Like literally, it's just one of those cases where like they found nothing.
Man.
No sketches of the suspect, no evidence, just straight up
it's just
vanished.
Like so much like the Johnny Gosch case.
Just like the Johnny Gosch case. A young boy seen talking to a stranger while delivering papers and then just disappeared.
How many years apart did you say they were?
So Johnny Gosch was 13 in 1982 and Eugene Martin was 13 in 1984.
Like, how are those not the same exact thing?
Right? It's crazy.
That's disgusting.
One of the best decisions I've ever made for myself is something I never thought I would do. You want to know my secret? Hiring a cleaning company. Like, who does that? I never thought I would say that I'm going to have my house clean for me. But in this season of life, with young kids and sports and work and side hustles, I had to decide how I wanted to spend my free time, and cleaning was not on that list. Stanley Cleaning Company has given me my free time back. They come once a month, and they sweep and mop my entire house and clean my bathrooms for me, and let me tell you, it is my favorite day of the month. Coming home to a sparkling clean house and knowing that I just saved 3+ hours of my time to spend with my kids is such a mental health game changer for me. It doesn't matter who from their team comes, they leave my house shining. And the best part is it's affordable. Christine offers an a la carte menu. You can do a general or a deep cleaning, just a sweep and a mop. You can do once a month or every week, a spring cleaning or a pre-party clean. She even has a postpartum mom clean that happens while you're in the hospital having your baby, and I can attest to that. It is amazing. Give them a call today for a free quote, and I promise it will be the best self-care you can imagine. You can find them on Facebook at Stanley Cleaning Company, or you can give her a call or a text at 765-860-3606.
In 1986, we had 11-year-old Ricky Chaddick, okay?
Yeah.
Now, Ricky was on a paperboy. This is in Omaha. It's hundreds of miles away, but he was found killed like 8 days later. This is the one that the guy believes that his dad had something to do with it. It's still unsolved. So that was a 2 year. So we're at 246, like 1982, 1984, 1986, okay? But also in 1986, back in Des Moines, Iowa.
Wait a minute, back in Des Moines?
Back in Des Moines, we have Marc Warren, who is also 13, just like Johnny and Eugene. Okay?
So 82, 84, 86,
so
all in Des Moines, all 13-years-olds.
Yes. Tell me how that's not connected.
Wait a minute.
Tell me how that's not connected.
I mean, there's other people that you're not the first person to like make this connection, or are you?
Yeah, no,
groundbreaking stuff.
No, it's not groundbreaking. Everybody
is,
but it's so many conspiracies and rumors around.
I can't imagine. Yikes.
So I think pretty much everyone's on the same page of like, they're all connected. They had to be connected. But the police back then didn't want them to be connected, and so a lot of people overlook Marc Warren, which is the one I'm getting ready to tell you about, okay? But how are they not? Like, come on. Like, I mean, you just saw what I just said. All in Des Moines, all 13 years old, 246, 82, 84, 86.
That's crazy.
And so I will tell you about Marc Warren now, and then we will talk about the conspiracy, okay? Right. So skipping ahead 2 years, 86, like I said, we were in 82, 84, and now we're in 86. So Marc Warren was 13 years old. He was described by his mother, Nancy Allen, as being a handful. Same, my children.
I was going to say, I got a couple handfuls upstairs.
He had somewhat of like an unstable childhood. He was constantly being moved back and forth between his mom's house in Iowa and his father's house in Minnesota, which, does that ring a bell to you? There's a Minnesota connection here.
Yeah.
So Ricky Chaddick, his family used to vacation in Minnesota, and Jacob Wetterling disappeared from Minnesota. And the crazy guy that thinks all this is connected, that thinks his dad did it, his dad had a house in the same town that Ricky Chaddick's family vacationed in. So there is this like weird So there's like this Minnesota connection, a Nebraska connection. There's, you know, the Des Moines connect, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, the Midwest. Okay.
Yeah.
So
all the states we mentioned in all our episodes.
Yeah. And so this went on for years. So it was kind of, he had a reputation for getting in trouble, like I said, handful, whatever. So on March 29th, 1986, Marc was 13 years old, and he was home with his mom and his siblings, and they lived on the southwest side of Des Moines the day before Easter, and they were getting ready. His mom had ordered pizza, and they were going to watch a movie that night. And Marc asked his mom if he could go down to his friend's house just down the road. She agreed, and he rushed out the door to go see his friend, and his mom said the last thing that he said to her, he was in a hurry, and he turned around and he said, "Save me some pizza, Mom. I'm going to be hungry when I get home." And that was the last thing he said to her. And he rushed out the door and down the sidewalk, and his mom said he turned around and waved to her just before he ran out of sight. There was like some bushes, and once he passed those bushes, she couldn't see him anymore, and he had turned around and waved at her. He was only supposed to be gone for a short while. He was just going down to visit. He had to get back for pizza and family movie night.
Absolutely.
And so his mom wasn't super concerned when he didn't come home. Obviously, like, he's going to a friend's house. He's 13. They're probably talking. But he never actually made it to the friend's house that night.
Man.
He hasn't been seen since. Still considered a missing person. Still open and active in Des Moines. He wasn't reported as a missing person right away. First of all, his mom, when she woke up on Easter Sunday, she thought he just stayed the night at a friend's house, which the 80s were different, man. Like, I can't even imagine letting my kid be out of my sight.
I still feel like phone call. You can make phone calls to your friends. Like,
and so he never made it to the friend's house, and so she just thought he spent the night. So she didn't even check on it, like, and follow up on this. And so the next morning, when he wasn't at home, she thought that he had went to his grandma's house because his grandma always made Easter baskets for all the grandkids. So she thought maybe he went there. And so she called her mom, and she said, no, he hasn't. He hasn't been here. He hasn't picked up his Easter basket, and he's not here now. And so then she started calling the friends, and that's when she realized, like, he never even got to the friend's house that night. And so then she panicked, and so she called the police, and she was informed that they couldn't do anything for 48 hours.
Man.
Are you kidding me?
Because he's 13?
I don't know why. Just because.
Usually the thing is, too,
hours.
like, as I'm trying to put my head in his mind, like, when I was 13, I thought I was invincible. Like, when I'm 13, riding my bike around Greentown, I didn't think there was any way anybody was taking me nowhere.
But still, like...
Yeah. So, like, I'm sure, like, for her, too, also, she might not have been thinking, like, oh, he's abducted immediately.
So, they thought that he ran away.
Is what the police said?
That's what the police said. And so, when the 2 days were up, she called back and filed a missing person report, and the police contacted his dad in Minnesota and his grandma, who lived in Connecticut, to see if he had ran away there, and neither of those people knew where he was. And so Nancy Allen is quoted as saying, "I just feel like at this time they were just afraid of what would happen with Eugene Martin and Johnny Gosch. I got the distinct feeling that they did not want parents to be frightened to let their children sell newspapers or go do different things." So she said she felt like they were kind of keeping it on the down low. Like they were kind of like didn't want word to get out that another 13-year-old, which why would you want people? That's panic right there.
Right.
Like 3 13-year-olds in 6 years. And so Marc James Warren Allen has not been seen since. He was born on May 13th, 1972. In 1986, he was 85 pounds and 5 feet tall, brown hair, blue eyes. Has not been seen since. For a long time, it was believed that he was a paper boy missing like Johnny and Eugene.
Right.
However, the Des Moines Register published an article.
I'm sure back then people were connecting the same dots were connected.
So in 2013, the Des Moines Register published an article and said that Marc Allen Warren had not been a paper boy, but that he still might be connected to the other missing boys, but he was not a third paper boy. But on like Reddit and stuff, I didn't find the article, but I read about an article that apparently his brother said that he was a paper boy. He just wasn't on his route that day.
Interesting.
But he actually was a paper boy. And so apparently, this is again getting in, I couldn't find any like true like articles on it, but everyone's talking on like Facebook and like group chat, is it called a group chat? Chat room? I don't know what they are.
Relax. Don't make it sound too old.
We are showing my age. But apparently the Des Moines Register is where all 3 of these boys were employed. The 2 of them were delivering at the time. But apparently there was a man there that was accused of sexual assault to little boys that did commit suicide right after Marc went missing. And he was never interviewed or questioned in any of this, apparently.
Man.
And so a lot of people, that's the answer with them. A lot of people, it stops there. They're like, Johnny, Eugene, and Marc were all kidnapped by the same person, kidnapped and killed, and then we've just never found them. And it was that guy, the local pedophile that worked with them at the register. Okay. But as with any good story, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about it. So there is a well-known child sex pornography ring thing. It's called the Franklin Child Prostitution Ring out of Omaha, Nebraska. It's its own thing. Like it has its own Wikipedia page. It's a whole issue. Okay. And so it basically is like all these like prominent people, like Freemasons and like senators and all this stuff, owners of a bank or like a credit union. This guy like owned a credit union, whatever. He was like, he did get convicted of embezzling tons of money from his credit union, but apparently there is a lot of accusations that they were kidnapping young boys in Omaha and other states from the Midwest and flying them out to Washington. This guy had a home in Nebraska and Washington, and they had their own photographers that were like taking the child pornography pictures, and they were sexually assaulting them and molesting them and all of this stuff, and then eventually killing them. And so I'm telling you, you could literally research this for days, which I kind of have. But so do you remember the name Paul Banaki from the Johnny Gosch case?
I don't remember it.
So he was an inmate, and he had his lawyer contact Noreen Gosch, Johnny's mom, and say that he helped kidnap him.
Oh, I vaguely remember there
and
being
so
like
basically
an inmate
yeah, so basically
chain of conversation.
Yeah, he like reached out via private investigator and was like, hey, just so you know, like I was forced to help these men go around and kidnap boys. One of them was Johnny. And he said, you know, they had this whole thing where they were going to be in Des Moines, but they came from Nebraska and they drove to Des Moines. And he said that they literally had all these pictures of little boys, and they picked Johnny because of his blue eyes. And that's why they went to Des Moines to get him specifically. And he said that they got there and they had this whole plan about how they were going to like drive around the block, ask for directions, and then circle around again. And then Paul was only 15 at the time. And so they had him get out and like talk to Johnny. And once he got close enough to the car, they pulled him in the car, and he had this entire story. And Noreen fully believed him because not only did Paul like know like things about Johnny, like about the abduction, but he also like said like they made him do it at gun, like they forced him to help them with this kidnapping plot, like they held him with Paul with a gun. And he said like he knew that like just like little things about Johnny's life. He knew about he had a scar on his chest, or a birthmark that was like the shape of South Africa. And he told Noreen that, and he told her that they used to go, his favorite restaurant was Chi-Chi's, and that Noreen used to take him there. She used to teach like a yoga class, and every time she would take him for chips and salsa. And like Paul knew that. Paul told Noreen that. And when she heard that, she's like,
he's telling the truth.
He's telling the truth. Like Johnny told him that. And so that was the story. And Paul was highly involved. He testified against this Franklin County ring, and he said like, we went around and kidnapped a bunch of little boys in Omaha, in Minnesota, in Iowa, and we were bringing them back for these prominent men to basically sell in the sex, like, and trade them and stuff. This ring was like disproved eventually. I'm not even going to go into it, y'all. We would be here for hours. But just so you, like, just know that, like, one of the main investigators on that case died in a mysterious plane crash in Michigan right before he was supposed to testify. I mean, there's a lot of crooked stuff in this thing, and it makes you wonder. And then all of a sudden it just ended, and they were like, oh, nope, none of that evidence can be substantiated. I guess it's over, bye. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, you have multiple photographers telling you that they were paid a lot of money to take pictures of boys, and I don't know how it got brushed under, but it did, and it was sketchy. And so a lot of people say that Johnny and Eugene and Marc were victims of this sex ring, and they have never been found. They are still missing to this day. And so that is what is the story. That's what the connection is. And it's absolutely crazy. And so they also believe there are rumors and theories that these 3 missing boys from the Midwest are connected to the Oakland child killings in Michigan, which I told you about. And I will be covering that next week on Murdered Midwest. It is, again, a wild story. Lots of prominent people in the community up in Michigan. This like pedophile ring. And this one was proven. Like, they put some people away that were scary people that were definitely like kidnapping kids. And so this is actually a story about a serial killer. They found 4 kids that were murdered. And so I had told you in the previous episode that the guy on the internet that may or may not be crazy, I'm leaning more toward crazy, he says his dad was involved. I told you about that.
Yes.
And he says his stepmom was also involved because the kids were well cared for. So Ricky Chaddock, he was one that we did on Murdered Midwest. So if you're not a subscriber, you didn't hear it. But he had actually been kept alive for 8 days. And when they found him, he was very clean. His clothes were very clean. And he had gotten kidnapped between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. And he had a full Easter dinner in his belly. And so there was a theory that a woman was involved and a woman had taken care of him. And in the Oakland County murders in Michigan, all 4 kids that were killed were kept alive. They were well fed and they were very clean. And so there's more than one suspect in those killings. And so that is why this man on the internet, he has a whole blog. You guys, it's just like rambling after rambling after rambling. But like I said, there's some truth in it. There's some things you can't ignore. So next week I will cover those cases and I'll tie it all back into the missing 3 boys from Iowa, because they think that they might have been taken to Michigan. So we will see.
Man.
So if you ever needed an excuse to subscribe, do it so you can hear about this serial killer case next week, because it will be locked.
This podcast is a So.Will.I.Studos production. So will I.
Johnny, question for you.
Yeah.
If I was somewhere in Kokomo and it wasn't our house and it wasn't the flower shop, where would I be?
Easy. Humble home.
Yes, you're right. You guys, listen up. Humble Home is my absolute favorite place to be for so many reasons. No matter what I'm looking for, I always check Humble Home first. Clothes, shoes, toys, decor, furniture, makeup, they literally always have something that I need. They have brand name items for cheap. Their inventory is constantly changing, so it's part of my weekly routine to do a Humble Home walkthrough. You absolutely need to stop by. I promise you won't be disappointed. While it is a discount store, it's not your average discount store. It's clean, organized, and everything has its place. I get zero anxiety when I go in, unlike other discount stores. And no matter what you're shopping for, a home project, gifts, home decor, even seasonal decor, they will have it. They are open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday from noon to 5. You can follow them on Facebook at Humble Home Kokomo and watch for new items every single day. And for our Lafayette, Indiana listeners, I have exciting news. They are opening a second location in Lafayette soon. As soon as I have the details, I will let you know their opening date. Get excited.